Make it plain.
Make it plain.
M.I.P.
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make it plain.
Get woke.
God bless you. Get woke. Folks, MIP is now COVID-free, meaning free to all subscribers as we navigate this pandemic. We're thinking about everyone, and we've got to get through this together. So for a limited time, no fee to subscribe to Make It Plain on your favorite podcast app. Ladies and gentlemen, jobs report out on Friday, and the numbers are not shocking, but nevertheless troubling and grim. What is going to happen? What is going to happen to the economy? What are we going to do? What does this mean? Is there irreparable harm going on? These are all the questions I have for our resident economists, whom we share with the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. But Chad and I have been talking this way for years, and no better time than the present. And we've seen, we talked literally every month through the Great Recession. And now we're speaking every month during pandemic. So we're learning a lot, and we count on his erudition and his expertise. He is the Chief Economist for the Center on Budget.org. Chad Stone joins us. Hey, buddy, glad that you are and yours are remaining safe and protected.
Yes, thank you, and glad you're doing well too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. So Friday's jobs report, it came out. The headline that, and I just remember this, it just flashed on my phone when it came out early Friday morning, said, these are the worst numbers since the Great Depression.
Yep, they are. Yeah, you said it's. I mean, it is shocking. It's not surprising because we knew it was coming because we'd seen the unemployment claims rising. But these are shocking numbers. The job losses. The job losses from businesses, when you ask employers how many people do you have on your payroll, those are down by an amount that is much bigger than just in March and April, much bigger than from the beginning of the Great Recession down to the low point of payroll employment. So in one month, mostly April, employers lost more jobs and more people left work or became jobless than cumulatively over the worst part of the Great Recession. So yeah, you would have to go back to the Great Depression, the 30s.
Unemployment at what? Almost 15%, 14.7, I believe.
Yep, 14.7.
Yeah. So labor force participation rate. Now, tell me again, what does that say to us? Because I imagine people are losing jobs, but not necessarily looking right now. It's hard to look in it. Where do you look? Who's hiring right now?
Well, that's right. And that really complicates the data so that the labor force participation is people who are working or actively looking for work, and they get counted as unemployed or employed. But there's a bunch of other people who have left the labor force. They're not working. They've lost a job, but they're not actively looking. They say they want a job, but it's hard for the Bureau of Labor Statistics that collects the data. They're doing their best to properly classify people, and they're having some issues with that because the questionnaire was not geared to times like these when a huge number of people are not only not allowed, not working, but not allowed to work and don't want to go back to work because it's unsafe. And how they get characterized is complicated. So one thing we can also look at is the share of the population with a job. That's called the that EPOP, or the employment to population ratio, and that dropped a lot, partly because of unemployed, but partly because of the people who aren't officially counted as unemployed, but are also not working. So yeah, it's big. It's really big.
So the labor force participation rate down 2.5 percentage points. The EPOP, as you call it, the employed population down 8.7%.
Right. That's the share of the population age 16 and over who are working. And, and that 8.7% includes both the rise in the unemployment rate and the decline in participation, the people who dropped out. So that's why the EPOP they don't exactly add up, but that's why the EPOP, or the share of the population with a job, is an important supplementary indicator to tell a fuller picture of the devastation.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, as we know, sometimes those numbers are ignored when you got a good economy and the unemployment rate is very low. We tend not to look at those numbers as closely. And the other number we don't always look at is the U6. And that's at 22.8%.
Right. So that's people who are unemployed, and it's a portion of the people who say they want a job. Not all of them, but it's the portion of them who say that they've looked for work in the past year, but not in the last 4 weeks, which is what you need to be counted as officially unemployed. Plus people who are part-time for what's called part-time for economic reasons. They're not getting as many hours as they want. And so U6 is a measure of not just unemployment, but also underemployment.
Yeah.
And it's slightly broader, the unemployed, marginally attached, and part-time for economic reasons.
Yeah, and that's a big number, as we said, 22.8% up, almost the increase in percentage points for the U6 is almost the same as the unemployment rate number. So it's 14.1 percentage points increase in the U6.
Yes.
And 14.7% in the unemployment rate. Yeah. So yeah. Now the other number, I'm looking at your tweet. The other number, the LF, that's who's left the labor force.
No, that's the labor force participation rate. The labor. That's a side of the labor. That's how many people are in the labor force.
How many are in the labor force? So that's down 6.4 million.
Yeah.
The total number of employed is down 22.4 million.
Right.
The unemployed have gone up 15.9 million. Listen, there's gonna be inevitably, Chad, and again, I'm nowhere near an economist, but I think I can figure this out. At some point, the number of unemployed is going to take over the number of employed, isn't it? That's inevitable.
Well, I think probably not, for the following reason.
Okay.
It's going to get that says we're heading towards a 50% unemployment rate. If I heard you right. So right now, what we're seeing is probably, it may be bigger next month than this, but a lot of it reflects the very rapid reaction to COVID, where all of a sudden places got shut down and a lot of people left work. And it's not going to continue at that pace, because that was a one-time thing. In fact, it'll go down some when, for responsible or irresponsible reasons, we start to open up the economy. If we do it prematurely, people will go back to work, even if it's dangerous, or people will not go back to work because it's dangerous. But I think that we're not going to see a dramatically larger increase in these numbers, because it's not a spiraling thing. There's a one-time thing to have a massive exit from the labor force for COVID-related reasons, and now there may be some more coming out for as businesses who were trying to keep workers on, they fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but not we're not going to see 50% unemployment.
Okay. All right. So 4.4 million want a job but are not actively looking.
Right.
How can you?
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's right.
You know, what do you even look for at this point? And like you said, is I guess some people have to consider whether a job is worth your life.
Right. That's right. That's one of the reasons people. I mean, even if governors start opening up, people may well wisely decide that it's not safe to go back to work. And, that'll also suppress the employment. So really conquering the virus as testing and all that is really important to getting these numbers down and getting the economy back again. Now, the Congressional Budget Office has made some rough projections, and they project that even in 2021, the unemployment rate will average 10.1%, something like that. And even in the fourth quarter of 2021, it'll still be 9.5%. And part of that may be with it may stay high. One of the reasons it may stay high is that we're continuing to try to flatten the curve on the virus and really keep. And so there's COVID related joblessness. But if you remember our discussions early on, and you actually kind of alluded to this, our discussions early on in the Great Recession, the unemployment rate was actually coming down, but the people who were marginally attached, the people the U6 was not coming down as fast as the unemployment rate. And we may see, and the unemployment rate didn't come down that fast. It took a while for the jobs to come back after the Great Recession. And that's because we stopped stimulus too early. Now, we and other groups are working very hard not to make the same mistake this time, but it may be the case that the shock of unemployment now will linger on, and we won't come back as quickly as we might. Although, there's a lot of people working really hard to get good packages in that provide assistance to people who need it, deal with the health stuff, but also provide stimulus to the economy to keep the recession from dragging out at very, very bad levels.
And isn't one of those stimuli what other countries are doing? Other countries are paying people's wages or something like that. I think Kamala Harris introduced legislation last week to do something like that, to give, some people call it a universal basic income. I don't think she's calling it that because, sometimes words can be a red herring, unfortunately. But I mean, isn't that part of stimuli? Because you need, our economy is a capitalist economy. You need consumers, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, and that's right. And so in Europe, they are doing a lot of focusing on paying employers to keep people on. They also have good unemployment insurance, but their labor institutions are really different from ours. There's cooperation between labor and business and government in setting the rules for whereas we're not very good. We've let the Fair Labor Standards Act stuff just deteriorate. But to be fair, the CARES Act, with that $600 a week bump to unemployment insurance, is doing much the same thing for a substantial group of unemployed. Unfortunately, it's scheduled to end at the end of July, but we're not. Our efforts to help out to subsidize jobs directly with employers is got off to a rocky start, and we'll see how it goes. But I would point to the unemployment insurance stuff as one of the strongest features in the CARES Act. The problem with it is that it expires based on a calendar date rather than based on an improvement in economic conditions. So we at the center and a bunch of others are working very hard to try to have triggers that it doesn't those things don't turn off until the economy shows clear signs of having recovered.
So what's better for the economy, Chad? Is it a both and or an either or? Continued unemployment insurance with more added to it, or the $1,200 check, so to speak, and that happening again and again over the months? Is it a both and or an either or?
It's a both and in many respects, because we're having a lot of trouble with getting the payments, the $1,200 to the lowest income folks, because you have to file a tax return to get it. So Center on Budget, which worries about those people, is pushing really hard to try to get out, to figure out how outreach, so those people can get those checks. Now, the unemployment checks are also good, and reach many low wage workers who become unemployed. But you have to have been working, and you have to get into the system that way. The payments go. You don't have to be working for the payments to go to. You just have to file a tax return. So, and in addition, there's other things that are important, like increasing SNAP benefits.
Right.
And really important is getting assistance to state and local governments, because they have balanced budget requirements, and their revenues are going way down, and the cost of providing services is going up, and they're going to run out of the rainy day funds pretty fast, and they will be forced to either raise taxes or cut assistance and cut valuable programs in order to satisfy their balanced budget requirement. And that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do in a recession, because that takes demand out of the economy rather than putting it in. So aid to the states is another really important piece of it. So there's a whole panoply of things that are well designed and meet different aspects of the problem.
Yeah. But I mean, it's really tricky too, because people have to spend money. I mean, the economy, correct me if I'm wrong, can be devastated in two ways. People are not working to produce anything, and people aren't spending money to consume anything.
That's right.
So, I mean, you can't have just everything devastated. Well, we can't go to work and produce nothing. But guess what? We don't have no money to go buy nothing either. So,
So the Great Recession was clearly a demand recession where demand fell. Our capacity to produce did not change. At this time, in the short run, during the shutdowns, we're supply constrained. As you say, we can't produce because people are not at work or afraid to go back to work.
right.
And therefore, you can only produce so much. But still, there's rent to be paid and things like that. So people do need money, and it helps that they're buying something.
Yeah.
And it helps that they're paying their rent, paying their utility bills, and all those things to the extent. So giving them money that allows them to do that does allow us to do better, so that we're not falling below even that restricted supply. Now, as we begin to relax constraints, it'll be really important to keep demand up with the expanding ability to produce, and that's why we need the demand side.
Another statistic you tweeted about and focused on, wage growth.
Yeah, this is a neat one. I mean, it's not a neat one. It's a complicated one. So we've been talking forever about the fact that wage growth was okay, but not as great as you would think, based on productivity and the fact that the unemployment rate was getting so low. But so it jumped up this month. But here's why. So the data come from a survey of employers asking what their average wage is for the previous month.
Right.
And if most of the low wage workers, or if a big chunk of low wage workers are not working because of the COVID restrictions, then the average that you're taking is of a richer group of workers. So there's no surprise that it's gone up. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics acknowledges that. It points out that the wage growth data are distorted by the fact that the universe, or the group of the group of workers whose wages or the group of workers whose wages you're asking employers about is becoming richer and richer on average.
Okay. All right. So that's what that does.
Yeah.
But now, Center on Budget, and folks can bet you go to centeronbudget.org and also follow him on Twitter at Center on Budget. Chad is also, by the way, at Chad CBPP on Twitter. So you all have taken a look at these numbers. A majority of the 20 million private sector jobs lost since February come from the lowest paid industries, correct?
From the lowest third of, so we ranked industries by average wage paid, divided them into three groups: high, middle, and low.
Mm-hmm.
And the data you're citing talks about how the low wage group, so approximately the same number of workers in each of those groups, in the low wage group working in low wage industries, have experienced a very disproportionate share of the job losses, according to our preliminary analysis. We'll have firmer analysis next week when we have more data. But yeah.
Why is that?
Why is that? Well, think of the jobs, right? Service, the leisure and hospitality industry, we've talked a lot about differentials by race, and it used to always be the case that Black unemployment was the highest, Hispanic, Latino was next, and white was lowest. And Hispanic Latino hit from this is even higher than the other groups, and so the Hispanic, and if you think about the industries, you can again think about why that's the case.
Yeah.
And it's so that the Hispanic Latino unemployment rate is now higher than the Black unemployment rate.
What is the Hispanic Latino unemployment rate, by the way?
Let's see if I can find it.
Take your time. And while you're looking for that, just some other things I want to point out from this tweet thread. Jobs in low-paid industries, folks, are disproportionately filled by workers who are younger, poorer, less educated, and especially women, non-citizens, and people of color. And as Chad was saying, these are service industries. So these industries that are hard-hit, low-wage industries include personal and laundry services, down 53% since February. Clothing stores, down 59%. Amusements, gambling, and recreation, down 60%. So
here are the unemployment rates. The way I'm phrasing it is that since February, because we've had two months of contraction, although dominated by this month. So the overall unemployment rate since February is 11.2 points higher. It went from 3.5 to 14.7.
Okay.
The white rate rose 11.1 points from 3.1 to 14.2. The Black rate rose a little less, 10.9 points, but from 5.8 to 16.7. So overall 14.7, white 14.2, Black 16.7, Hispanic Latino rate rose 12.9 points since February, from 6% to 18.9%.
Mm.
So that's the highest.
Okay. What do you have women?
I don't have women in front of me or readily available, but I believe that our data is showing that they were hard hit, relatively hard hit compared with men.
Yeah. Wow.
Also not surprising when you think about the industries.
Different about industry.
Yeah.
So, Chad, how does this? So let's say the pandemic ends whenever it ends, and obviously, I mean, I'm sure you like me, those of us who are realistic and really reading and comprehending this stuff. You mentioned, you know, uh, what people are predicting even for next year. So I don't think any of us is kidding ourselves, other than some folk in the White House, that this is going to be over about football season. Okay, so but whenever it does end, and this continues on even into next year, how on earth do you fix it? How much time does it take to get everything back to some state of economic normalcy and to get everyone back at work? Does it happen overnight? Does it take time? I mean, just what happens? And also, I guess the other variable we have to think about, again, there's always going to be some trepidation, because when you say, okay, let's go back, unless everybody's been tested and everybody's been traced and all of that has happened, people are going to still be kind of scared. Because what do people, only thing people want to spend money now on what is groceries. That's it. So nobody's buying furniture and cars. Okay. So, I mean, man, if how do you even repair this and rebuild?
Well, there'll be some portion of people who go back to their old jobs. There'll be some portion of people who are on leave from their old jobs. They're unemployed. They're on furlough, but their jobs may not be there when they get back, because their companies may have experienced more semi-permanent damage, if not permanent damage.
Right.
But there's going to be some chunk that go back to work pretty immediately, where they used to work, when they feel it's safe and when they're allowed to. And now it takes both those, as we've been talking about. The worker has to feel it's safe, and opening up when the worker doesn't feel it's safe isn't going to help anybody, really.
Right.
And
not to mention, if your business also has consumers that come in and out of it,
right,
and frequent it, as we just, and some of these service industry jobs, that's real. Okay, I'm sorry. Great, yeah.
No. And then there's going to be folks go back to what they were doing, but then there's going to be a big sorting. There's going to be a lot of people who don't have the same job to go back to, and there's going to be a lot of employers that are looking to build up their labor force, but the same people, different people will go back to different places at different times. And how fast that happens remains to be seen. And the third thing is what we were talking about earlier, which is, if the federal government provides assistance and stimulus appropriate to the size of the challenge, that will make it happen faster, because the demand will be there to keep up with the gradual opening up of the supply. Yeah. If they don't, then we'll be talking about the slow recovery from the Great Recession, except it'll be from a higher level. It'll be worse.
Another area I'd like to touch on, though, since we're talking about this, and we know what happened during the recession. There's been some revelation that in the PPP, smaller businesses are missing out. Bigger businesses are taking advantage of. They really didn't line it up the right way. It was like kind of first come, first serve, and all the banks called their friends on the first day. Right? They all got an email, call in by tomorrow, and the money was gone. That's not going to help in the long run, is it? I mean, you're going to have to help all of these businesses.
Yeah, no,
you're going to help some. You got to help them all.
Yeah, well, the best way to help them is to give them customers. So give demand. But yeah. The initial rollout of PPP was really problematic. They clawed back some of the stuff that shouldn't have gone out, and they tried to do better in the second round. I guess it remains to be seen how that works.
Okay.
It's a hard thing to do. They're trying to do too many things with it, and it's hard.
Yeah. So we can expect I just want to be clear. You mentioned a lot of the numbers now are the immediate reaction to when this first started.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. Is this gonna stay about at this level? Can it get worse, or what?
It can get it's likely to get somewhat worse over the next couple of months, but CBO, which is doesn't have an axe to grind. They're trying to do the honest thing. Do think that in the second half of and like many people think that in the second half of the year things will start to come back, and there's going to be some confusion about what's going on there, because you'll see relatively big jobs numbers and you'll see relatively big GDP growth, because you're climbing out of a really deep hole. That means you're getting closer to the top, but the top's way up there.
Yeah.
And so we try to focus on the gap between where you'd like to be and where you are. It's nice that you're getting there faster than you were, but you're still a ways to go. And so that'll be an important understanding point going forward, because some people are going to say, look at this growth rate of.
Yeah. So I guess too, though, it's in making the decision to reopen the economy and end some of the lockdowns. That's risky business too. You almost have to wonder. So if I'm dealing with the economy and I call my chief economist, Chad Stone, what is the safer bet? To well, let's hurry up. We got to get the economy back. We got to do it. Or waiting a little longer, or however long it takes, to be sure that we're doing it right, that more people are being tested, and that you're creating scenarios where people feel safe going back to work and buying. So if you're advising me and I'm the president, which bet do I take?
You say, pay a lot of attention to what the health people are telling you.
Okay. Case closed. Closed.
Yeah.
You can't really separate the two.
Right. Now, because I think the polls show that people really care about the health side.
Of course.
They care about the economy, but they really care about the health side.
Right.
And that's pretty bipartisan. And so you want to weight what the health people say pretty heavily. The economist can tell you, well, you'll pay a price in terms of slower job recovery and things like that. But it's as long as people are worried mostly about safety, it's a price worth paying.
So if I were president, you and my chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, you would not say, no, Mark, go ahead and hurry up and do something because you need a better economy to get reelected. You wouldn't say that to me.
Well, as an economic advisor, when I was at the Council of Economic Advisors, we gave objective advice whether the president wanted to hear it or not.
Yeah.
Of course, we had a president who was somewhat more receptive.
Chad can't say it. Sit on, but it's not partisan.
Every Council of Economic Advisors has to operate in a political environment.
That's right. That's right.
But it's better if you have a president who listens and can think smartly for himself.
How diplomatic and tactful for you to put it that way on behalf of the nonpartisan Center on Budget. Very well put.
I would have put it that way before 2016.
I know. But there are still other ways to put it right now. But no, that's okay. So I get it. So folks, this is where it's at. In your time off during the quarantine, stop by centeronbudget.org and enlighten and educate yourself, folks, on all of this that is going on and what you can do about it and what you can expect, as a matter of fact. Chad, as always, appreciate your expertise, my friend.
It's good to see you and talk to you.
Yeah, it is good to see you too, man. For those of you listeners who can't see, Chad's got a guitar in the background. I didn't know he played the guitar. You all listening will want to go and see the clip on social media so you can not only see the guitar, but Chad's wearing a t-shirt This says Economic Report of the President, 1999, right?
Right.
And that's when you were on the Council of Economic Advisors. Yeah. So that was a good time too, because was that around the time of the budget surplus? Or
yeah, budget surplus, unemployment almost as low as it is now. Lots of jobs being created, lots of equality in wage gains being distributed. The rich were still getting a little bit more, but up and down the ladder, there's broadly shared prosperity.
Yeah. Chad, thank you, buddy. Can't wait to talk again, man.
Me too.
All right. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Make It Plain and Get Woke. Remember to listen, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If all minds are clear, it has been made plain.